Welcome to this week's Dream Car judging video here at BOTB. We'd now like to hand over to today's lawyer from Onside Law who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name's Josh, I'm from Onside Law and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm that the competition data has already been sent to the verification company Promo Veritas. I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name's Matt Cannon. I'm a senior county referee and footballer.
Good morning, my name is Leo Donnellan. I'm an ex-professional football player, having been with Chelsea, Fulham and Leyton Orient.
Good morning, my name is Alain Goma. I'm an ex-professional football player, having played for Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle and Fulham.
Hello, my name's Wendy Martin. I previously played for Tottenham Hotspur Ladies and beach soccer for England and Team GB.
Hi, I'm Jenna Scalacci, retired professional footballer, now operations manager at Tottenham Hotspur Academy.
Hi, my name's Renee Hector and I'm the head coach of Watford FC Women.
Good morning, my name's Andy Braithwaite and I'm a football referee, mentor and licensed observer.
Good morning, my name's Hugh Gilroy. I'm a referee, a mentor, a tutor and observer.
Judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 8 individual selections.
Thank you very much, Josh. Good morning, everybody. Before I draw some lines in around our little galaxy there we have, I'm going to come to you, Andy. There's your blue cross that's magnified just to the left of this circle, I would say. If you could explain, firstly, what we're seeing in the photograph, and then trajectory of the ball, and then how you reached your decision, please.
Good morning, Matt. Morning all, thank you. In this particular pitch, I think it's possibly a throw-in coming in from left to right. Looking at the guy, I've got one really good eye for the player in front in blue. His right eye is just slightly obscured there, but I did take something from that. The guy behind in white, I don't think he's affecting the ball. He's just sort of frowning away from it. As I say, I think the ball is flashing across, and the guy for me in blue appears to going to be flicking it on, possibly from centre of his head over to the left-hand side to his left, just flicking the ball. That's why I believe it's a throw-in coming in from left to right. Both seem reasonably relaxed, just a slight puff of the cheeks for the guy in blue. And yeah, just very basically, I've taken a point from his eye line, looking up, his head's slightly tilted. I feel the ball is just slightly in front of how we're looking, just in the foreground slightly. The guy in white, I've got good eyes from him. He's glancing at the incoming ball, but not affected the play at all.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll draw some lines in. I'm going to draw some red lines in today. Firstly, from this player in white, up through yours, Andy, on the left. And then through yours, Alain, on the right. And then we have Jenna slightly on the right from this player in blue. And Rennie and Andy. So I'm going to go anti-clockwise, which means I'm going to come down to you next, Rennie. There's your purple cross, magnified, ever so slightly lower than the rest of us. What did you see in this photo?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. For me, I think the ball's been played by the player in blue. I think he's flicked it on to his right-hand side, so our left. I think the ball is slightly in the foreground of the player in white and blue. Reason for that is I think the player in blue is on the way down. Sort of you see the ruffles on the front of his shirt and his hair sticking up a little bit. But I think it's far enough away for him that he's been able to open his eyes after contact with the ball. And then I think the player in white is sort of behind him, sort of maybe a bit late to come and put pressure on, and is just sort of looking in the direction of the ball. My cross is a little bit lower just because the player in blue, his eye line, I I sort of don't see any sort of white under his eye, and I felt like he was looking a bit flatter than maybe some of the other judges. But yeah, that's why I've reached my decision there.
Okay. So moving on around our little circle, is come to you next, Leo. There's your green cross, a little bit more central by a smidge. Did you see it the same way?
Yeah, similar, Matt. I went predominantly with the players' eye lines this morning. I think the ball's traveling from left to right. I think it's slightly in front of the player in blue, so it's in the foreground a bit. I think the player in white is not going to affect the play. I'm not too sure what's going to happen here, Matt. I think the player in blue might just flick the ball on, but also I think he might let the ball run across him and move towards the ball as it sort of passes by him. But
Yeah.
so I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think the player in white, I think both of his eyes are looking predominantly sort of in front and above him. And I got my height from the player in blue. I think his left eye, he's looking quite horizontally. And so I went a bit more to the left and a little bit lower because of him.
Yeah, lovely. And moving on round, we come to you, Alain. There's your yellow cross that's magnified ever so slightly closer to the player in blue. What did you see?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Yeah, no, I see it a bit differently. I think the ball is played initially towards the player in white, so from the camera towards the player in white, and the player in blue is coming across and he's going to try to intercept the ball. So I think he's up in the air, ready. As you can see, he's extending his neck, he's stretching his body, and he's going to try to head the ball before it reaches the player in white. Yeah, no, he's looking up. The player in white, I thought his eyes were looking in different directions. So I sort of tried to draw a line from his nose between the two eye lines. And yeah, I don't think he's going to try to challenge the ball. I think he's more static. He was expecting the ball to come to him and was surprised by the player in blue. But yeah, cross-referencing both eye lines, this is how I put my cross, basically.
Lovely, thank you. And on the same eye line up from the player in blue, but a little bit further away is yours, Jenna. There's your orange cross that's magnified there. Did you see it differently?
Yes, slightly. Kind of agree with Rennie on this one. I think just looking at the player in blue, that contact's already been made. Just given his face, it looks very focused. His neck muscles, you can see, his hair's up and the shirt's ruffling. So I think he's made contact. I think the ball's come in from left to right, and he's headed it obviously up to our left. Player in white, I think he's in the background, the ball's out in front of him. I think he's looking at the ball, not really going to make a challenge, maybe just giving the player in blue a little nudge. But I took lines up from his eyes, and then the player in blue, I've just taken 2 lines from each of his eyes. We can only really see one good eye there on his left, that one there. And I took a line up from his forehead, and that's where I've kind of got my cross with a combination of both eyes from each player.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on around, I come to my own. I echo exactly what you've just said and Rennie said. I think the player in blue's flicked it. Rennie earlier on did say something quite important to me. The shirt, the way the shirt is ruffled, it would suggest he's on his way down, not on his way up to me. He's sort of billowing around his neck, and it's obviously ridden up in his across his chest, which would suggest to me that he's flicked it on, as you've just said again, Rennie. And so I think he's headed the ball. I think that's partly why his right eye, the left eye, we're looking at the picture, is slightly closed. But as it's been said before, it's far enough away from him to have sort of opened his eyes and following it on. I think the player in white is looking up towards the ball and just watching it, flicked over to his right-hand side, left as the picture's looking. And I just cross-referenced the 2 eye lines, and put a central part as well from the noses, and that's how I reached my position. So moving on round a little bit further up, a little bit further away from the blue by a smidge is yours, Hugh. There's your pink cross. How did you see this photo?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, very similar. I think the player in blues played it as has been said, the shirt's ruffled. I think his face looks at an unusual angle for if he was watching the ball coming in. So I think he's played it and he's on his way down. I think he's flicked it. And then the player in white, I think's maybe got one arm round the side of him because you can't see where his right arm fully is, but I think he was second to it and just watching it then go over him. So yeah, player in blue played it for me, and main focus on the four good eye lines for where that was.
Yeah, lovely. And moving round, we come to yours, Wendy. What did you see?
Yeah, I think the ball's already been played as well. For me, just to add to sort of what's already been said by the judges that also feel it's been played. The players' body language, they're both sort of player in white, particularly in blue. Their sort of bodies are looking as though the ball's coming in from a right to left angle. I think the player in blue maybe has got a bit more rotation in his body because he has just sort of flicked it and played the ball. But if it was coming in from the other direction of where the ball is now, you'd expect their actual bodies maybe to be sort of square on and from the left to right. So that's why I think it's being played. They're facing sort of the direction the ball's come from, and sort of in terms of their bodies, and the player in blue I think has flicked it on. I did see just the player in white, his right eye, I did see a little bit of white just on the sort of inside of the eye, so I felt and no white really the other side, so I did feel that he was looking just a little bit sort of off to his right, and also which would sort of be in line with sort of tracking his eyes tracking the ball that's just been played, because that's the direction it's going in, I think.
Yeah, thank you. So that's interesting. We've got five of us who think the blue players played the ball, starting with Renee, myself, Hugh, Jenna, and Wendy. We have Leo thinks the player in blue may well actually flick it on or control the ball, and the remaining two also thinking that the blue players flick the ball on, about to flick the ball on. So we've got a bit of a, I mean, again, I've said this before over the last few weeks, the magnifier is a little bit smaller than ideally it would be to represent the size of the ball. And around this calculated average, as you see, we've got 7 people outside and mine just popping out the top. So we've got a good ball shape around this calculated average. And I think the calculated average, personally for myself, it looks good. But as ever, I will come through to you all and ask you what your thoughts are and whether you want to see what it's like with any particular person's choice taken out of consideration. And then we can, if we have a consensus, go back to vote on that. So Leo, I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think everybody's judgment is credible, Matt, and I think the average is in a very good position.
Yeah. Alain?
Yeah, I'm happy with the average. Also, I think it is a bit spread today, but yeah, every position is credible. So yeah, I would go for the average.
Yeah. Wendy?
Yeah, I like the average where it is. I think there is a sort of good spread. And if you look at the player in blue, I think there's a nice sort of spread really of 4 of us below and 4 kind of above, more or less, roughly as well. So I think it's a quite a sort of good spread both ways as well.
Yeah, I'll draw those in because you've mentioned it. I should have really done that before. We have a good split. 4 above, 1 right in the middle, 3 below, and then this one 4 and 4, or 5 and 4 again in the opposite direction. But yeah, it's all pretty level. Jenna?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the average as it is. I think all the crosses kind of balance each other out there.
Yeah. Rennie?
Yeah, I'm happy with the average where it is. I think it's in a good position.
Yeah. Andy?
Yeah, in today's instance, everybody's very evenly spread around what is the centre. So yeah, all credible.
Yeah. And Hugh?
Yeah, happy with the average.
Yeah. So Josh, after a good debate about what we've seen in the photograph, with 5 of us thinking the blue players played the ball in the foreground, we've decided as a panel to judge at this calculated average for the reasons we've given and taken all 8 judges into consideration.
Cool. That's great. Thanks, Matt. If you're all happy, then please click submit. Thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are X1724 and Y1016. These coordinates will now be passed to the verification company Promo Veritas to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you all.